back to the Sons of the American Legion Radio Report on WVOX AM 1460 and heard around the world on WVOX.com. We have a special guest coming up on the line, but first a quick story. We could talk to our guest about this deployment to the Middle East. The Navy amphibious assault ship with thousands of Marines on board is going to be skipping a planned training exercise in Africa to instead head to the Middle East, and that's the amphibious assault ship USS Bataan and the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. They're not going to be participating in the exercise African Sea Line in Morocco, but they're heading to the Middle East. The Bataan, its crew, and roughly 2,200 Marines are heading there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if any more ships are going to be headed to the Middle East.
Yes, and you have one more quick note, then we're going to go to our guest.
Another Navy story. This is a nice one. The Navy's next two Virginia-class Fast-Neck submarines will be named in honor of the crews of two battleships that sunk during the attack on Pearl Harbor, the USS Arizona and Oklahoma. This is the first time since the attack that ships will bear those names of Oklahoma and Arizona. More than 1,100 crew of the Arizona died during the attack on Pearl Harbor, and sadly, many of them remain entombed in the battleship's submerged wreckage. Another 477 crew members from the Oklahoma were lost. And the new submarine Oklahoma is already under construction at General Dynamics Electric Boat, which was awarded the Navy's largest ever shipbuilding contract earlier this month. So nice gesture there by the Navy.
Absolutely. And on the line, we have a special guest from the retired Navy officer, Rear Admiral Terrance McKnight, who's an SVP Government Relations at Cobham Advisors and a VMI grad. Admiral, good to have you join us today.
Happy New Year, Ken. Always good to be on your show.
Hey, thanks so much. We were going to talk about Navy ship priorities, but the news of the day and this week, which could be a very important news for quite a while, was the U.S. military attack on Thursday on Major General Qasem Soleimani of Iran. What was your thought when you heard about that last week?
Well, kind of it's one of those feelings, Ken. You just kind of jump up and cheer, and I was very disappointed in some of our fellow Americans who were putting it down and saying it was the wrong thing to do. This guy was one of the world's leading terrorists, and his organizations have just spread hate and discontent throughout the Middle East. And it was time for him to go. And the other thing is, Ken, what was he doing in Baghdad? He wasn't going to the Baghdad Disneyland, so something was up there. They invaded the embassy there, and so there was something behind it. And I think will come out later. What he was involved with, but it's a good day for us.
Yes, that surprised me that someone in leadership in the Iranian military just flies into the Baghdad airport, gets out of a plane, and then is taken away in a convoy to a destination unknown. And that sounded very surprising. That one, he was allowed to land at the Baghdad airport. Why do you think the Iraqis let that happen?
Well, it's a Shia issue out there. The Iraqis are controlled, and I think basically I think they were bad term, but they were basically in cahoots with it. So I think something was up. Like I said, he just wasn't coming in there to pay foreign affairs visit or something like that. So he was definitely there. Something was coming down the pike, and I think we did the right thing to probably stop the further death or injury of American lives.
Yes. Now, as my colleague Jack McGurk said, the Navy is sending the USS Bataan amphibious assault ship with over 2,000 Marines into the region, and there's U.S. forces there, as there always is. You commanded a task force for the United States Navy in the region. What are your thoughts about the Navy's role, the Marine Corps' role, being in the region at this time?
Well, the Navy and the Marine Corps, this is going to be a critical role. I mean, whatever you look at, our Navy and Marine Corps is there to support the free flow of commerce around the world, and the Straits of Hormuz. How we could go spend hours on the importance of the Straits of Hormuz, and so our feeling is probably that's probably one of the targets that they may tend to do that. They've already put some mines on ships that are coming through there, so it's always going to be a critical area. And so our guess is right now that we're looking to make sure that the free flow of commerce stays through the Straits of Hormuz.
Well, I understand the British are sending 2 more destroyers into the region, so it's going to be highly contested space. You've commanded U.S. warships in the area. You commanded an amphibious assault ship in your career. What is the concerns? There's been so much discussion about vulnerability of big capital ships with the development of missiles in recent years, and what the Iranians have showed already, being able to hit a target in Saudi Arabia. How do you feel about the defenses for the U.S. Navy ships out in that region?
Well, I feel it's good. Of course, it can always be better, but we have upgraded a lot of systems. We understand the threat out there, whether it's it's a swarm attack, missile attack, everything. So we make sure that the ships that are going through there are well trained and well protected. And like I said, we've upgraded a lot of the the electronic warfare systems out there. So I feel very confident with we're the best of the best, and I think that the Navy is going to be on its best team there, right there, as we make sure we protect that area and go through the strait and any conflict with anybody in that region.
And of course, one of the concerns has been a cyber attack sponsored by Iran. They've shown expertise at that in the past. And certainly with the Navy, something we've talked about is, could a cyber attack disarm defenses or change the flow of information going back and forth within the U.S. military or allies? How do you feel the defenses are on cyber at this point?
Well, over the last 10 years or so, Ken, we have put a concerted effort and a lot of money into that. It's every single day. Somebody's trying to get into our networks. These foreign actors, whether it's some guy sitting in a hotel room in Belfast or somewhere. I mean, anywhere in the world. There's a lot going on that we never see and you'll never hear about unless something goes bad. But we have put, like I said, put a lot of resources in there. And that's the way they come after us. They know they can't beat us face to face with weapon systems. So that is definitely a possibility, and I think we're going to be well prepared for any type of operation like that.
And you and I had a chat about the priorities of Navy shipbuilding, and we see Jack mentioned 2 more Virginia-class submarines on their way, and the USS Baton, an amphibious assault ship going to the region. I believe the USS Abraham Lincoln is in the area, the aircraft carrier.
Right.
When you see the needs, when an emergency situation comes up like this, what are the assets the Navy really needs to be ready to put on the front at an emergency period?
Well, of course, submarines are, it's critical as anything. They're hard to detect and everything, and they can do some amazing things that the public doesn't know about. But an aircraft carrier with all the airplanes that are out there, I mean, that's sovereign U.S. territory. And when they're in that area, they're flying day and night, and they can attack a target, with anything. If you have the Air Force does some great things out there, but they're on foreign territories, but not a U.S. carrier. It's out there and it's ready to go. And same thing with the with the VU that's out there in the Marines. They can land anywhere and they can be anywhere. So it's a great asset to have them out there, and we need to make sure that we continue to resource those assets.
And I guess the thing that the U.S. Conducted the attack in Iraq by using a drone, and the Iranians have used drones in some of their efforts as well. How important is drone warfare at this point in a conflict like this?
Well, extremely important. I mean, the Predator that was out there. I mean, you can set that thing out there for hours, and it could sit, go up to 50,000 feet, and then if you need it, you just bring it down. So they're extremely important in the ages of modern warfare. You don't have to put an individual in the cockpit, and you don't have to refuel it. It can come down and can stay up there a long time. So they are very, very important in this day and age.
And Rear Admiral Terrance McKnight, veteran of the United States Navy. Just tell our audience the name of your book that you wrote about the fight that you led against the Somali pirates.
Yeah, the book is Pirate Alley, Commanding Task Force 151 off the coast of Somalia, and it was a great operation. We had a great coalition out there, and it definitely was the highlight of my career.
And you called us here on WVOX one day. We always remember that day, that morning you called Bob Marone's show, and we thank you. Sir, thank you so much for your time. I hope to see you when I'm down in Washington next month.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Jack, you got to pick a story.
Okay, well, another deployment to talk about with regards to the Middle East. The entire 1st Brigade Command combat team of the Army's 82nd Airborne Division, which constitutes the immediate response force at Fort Bragg, was alerted to prepare for deployment, is now being deployed.
How many is that?
That's about 3,000.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
North Carolina soldiers, yeah. So the number of troops in the Middle East keeps increasing.
Jack, thank you so much. I know you did a lot of preparation. We had a couple of guests, but we want to thank them, Colonel Sam Houston and Rear Admiral Terrance McKnight.
Absolutely. You've been listening to the Sons of the American Legion Radio report on WVOX AM 1460 and heard around the world on WVOX.com. We thank today's guests, Colonel Sam Houston and Rear Admiral Terrance McKnight. Remember to check out our Facebook page at Sons of the American Legion Radio and our Sea Services page as well. And until next week, remember to thank a veteran.